So, I just hit 200 subscribers and I wanted to put out some proper content, and I figured this would be a good video to do while the banner is still alive. It's pretty well established that Bridal Micaiah is an insanely strong unit, to the point of degeneracy in the eyes of some, which is totally deserved, and yes, I'm one of them, even though I use her. But despite that, I don't see her, or them, I guess it's a duo, there's two of them, but I'm gonna keep saying her, used nearly as often as I'd expect, especially in Ether raids, and I wanted to share some quick thoughts on why I think she's the best support unit the game has to offer. The most important reason for this is her ability to radically change the tides of battle from the complete opposite side of the field. There aren't many units who can give any kind of support from more than 2 or 3 spaces away, and the ones that can tend to give relatively small buffs, like your pretty little fairies, +3 cardinal drives. Dominance, Micaiah's duo skill, will pretty much add at least 21 damage, 14 of that being true damage, to any combat of allies in range with enemies also in range, which is just unheard of, and really has not been matched since her release. Because of the range and column-based gameplay style, she's an ideal smiter, which is critical for all sorts of super high-level Ether Raids plays and trap testing. Based on that, I committed her to a more support-focused build than her base kit sets her up for, using a Link skill, and then filling out the CNS slots to give Spectrum buffs. The Link skill also helps activate her weapon condition, even without the default Oath. I'm showing a cheap version of this kit, which doesn't need any fodder you can't find on summonable 3-star units, but you can mix up which skills buff what. I actually use Fortify Res 3 myself, because what am I, made of feathers? But Tier 4 or Joint, Hone, and Fortify skills are premium C options, or you could always go for a different Link if you have reasons and then fill in those gaps. With this kind of build, she's always able to provide some sort of support, but has options to either not give buffs or not give debuffs depending on what kind of counters, like Panic, Harsh Command, Unity, might be on the field. Micaiah giveth and Micaiah taketh away. She always has something she can do as a support, and she can make some pretty clutch plays when all hope seems lost. She maintains attack res push 4 in the A slot so that she can keep her dual effective nukes as menacing as possible, and hang on to that magic tankiness too, which comes in handy more often than you might expect when it's time to go get the pots. Both stats of the push are key if you happen to run into a cav line too, which I actually think she's one of the best units to have on hand form, even if they still usually get me. It may look like this build sacrifices some of her uniqueness and strengths, but from my experiences, it turns her into a Swiss Army knife who can really help you seize the upper hand, and typically do just enough in any odd situation you might need her for. I often see Bridal Mickey discussed in the context of broadleaf fan type units for Vantage plays, but I don't think this is her most potent application. I do think she is a really good support, one of the best for sure you can get for that sort of team, assuming you already have a Dancer Mythic on board, but in my eyes, that composition doesn't really do much to patch the weaknesses of Broadleaf, like Harsh Command, Hardy Bearing, Rally Traps and Dances, all that sort of stuff. From my own theorizing and experience, she is best utilized alongside a tank running Soul. Brunia and Brave Hector are my go-tos for that sort of thing, but there are all sorts of capable units. The biggest problem they tend to run into is not dealing enough damage, which leads to missing one-round kills or not healing enough HP to avoid crushing defeat. But when you're adding 21 or more damage onto any tank's hits, you really cut down the frequency of those issues. This also lets them run Attack Smoke as a relatively cheap C-slot option that has offensive and defensive utility in context. Some of the hardest matchups for these sorts of tanks can be super thick armors or razzle-dazzle cav healers, and hey, would you look at that, Micaiah has the effective damage to clearly neutralize both. Side note, did you know? I actually coined the phrase razzle dazzle in this game. That's true. I'm trying to keep this one on the shorter side, so I won't get too deep into her applications in other game modes, but she really can do it all. Obviously you'll need merges to score in Arena, but with them, she's probably one of the best units you could ask for. Dominance can be just as clutch there, and her armor effectiveness will go even further. Plus, she can run flyer movement skills, which are always helpful on offense, and a great way to ruin the day of someone just like me on defense. And in PvE game modes, I'm sure you've seen the one-turn clears, right? Anyway, this unit really turned around Astra Season for me, and while she's summonable, I wanted to try and share the love. Other builds on her are totally viable, but this video was focused on sharing the one I like that I'm not sure everyone is aware of. If you want to see more of her in action, check out pretty much any of my Astra Season Brunya videos. So what do you think of the points I've raised? Who's the best support unit in FEH in your mind? And hey, while you're here, maybe like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel. I make content like this periodically and play ether raids all the time. We have fun here. Anyway, that's all I've got today, so I'll see you in the keep tomorrow. Till then.